think it's going. Is there a counter?
Yeah, the box came up on my screen. It's all good.
Boom.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. And we got a lot of stuff to cover. Hopefully, we won't stay a lot on the Man U game. I hope these guys that are here to discuss soccer on this podcast are bigger than that, and they just want to move on fast. It is what it is. But we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss Chelsea versus Tottenham. We're going to discuss Lampard versus Gerrard. We're going to discuss Kevin De Bruyne's goal, Darwin Nunez getting sent off against Crystal Palace, Liverpool going down to 10 men, Southampton's comeback versus Leeds. We got an action-packed show. Just want to say thanks for listening. If you're listening or watching on iTunes, SoundCloud, Omni Studio, All Things Comedy, or you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a review on any one of those platforms or any one of the platforms that I didn't mention. Especially, I'd like to know if you listen on another platform that we are not aware that this podcast is on. It'd be cool to know that. The other day, the podcast feed was not working, and then people tweeted us, and that's when I found out some of the other platforms that we're on that I had no idea that we're on. So let us know what's up. And the sponsor for the podcast is onthevolleyapparel.com, and it's a fusion of hip hop and soccer logos on t-shirts, hoodies, tanks, and sweatshirts. Use a promo code Comic Rant, you get 20% off. And we got two of the usual suspects. Martin is going to join us later. We got Neil Chakravarty, stand-up comic from San Diego, Chelsea fan. So I know he's going to want to get into it about that game later with Martin. So that'll be exciting to see. We'll talk about it first, but Martin's not here right now, so we're going to wait about that. What's up, Neil? How you feeling?
Good, actually, surprisingly good.
Oh, good. You should feel good. And Lee Hudson, stand-up comic from England, Southampton fan. We're going to talk about his game versus Leeds. How you feeling, man? And where are you, Lee?
I'm in a parking lot in Edinburgh right now. I'm up here for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. I'm only here for the week rather than the whole month. But yeah, I've just done a bunch of shows today. Roast Battle was the last show I did. I was judging that, and then I've come straight to my car to record. It was lively. It's late night. It's full of drunk Scottish people. It's the best audience you could want for that.
Don't they just heckle most of the time? Does anybody get to do any roast jokes?
Oh no, they're pretty observant for it. They listen. They want to hear the fucked up shit. So they listen. But yeah, it's fun. This is I got up late yesterday, so this has been my first full day up here. I'm here until the weekend. So
are you living in your car for the weekend, or did you get a place?
No, I've got a hotel, but it's slightly out of town. And after this, I'm going back to join some parties, so I won't be going back to the hotel for another few hours.
I feel you. All right, thanks for taking your time out from getting drunk to do the podcast.
I'm
stone cold sober, so I'm not going to be.
You are? Drunk, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right. And I'm usually wear a jersey, but I just noticed that my shirt is blending in with the tree that I got in the background, which I feel like hiding now, just like Man United did during the game the other day, as Neil pointed out. So thank you for that. But first, let's, I guess, deal with United. So I was on the road this weekend, and I'm on my computer right now, but normally I bring my computer. It has all the plugs for me to watch any game. It has all the apps on it. But I brought my new iPad, and I watched the first game, no problem. It was Aston Villa, I think, versus, who did they play? Everton. Right, so I watched that game. Then the United game started, and all of a sudden, it says, you're not in the area. You're not in the right area to watch this game, meaning where I was in Madison, Wisconsin, for some reason, even though they just let me watch the Aston Villa game, they wouldn't let me watch the United game. So I tried to turn on the TV in the hotel room. I couldn't even, that thing, I couldn't even operate it. So then I'm like I click on my Man United app on the iPad, and it shows me on the Man United app that we're down 2. And I'm like, what? It's only 15 minutes. Is this a clerical error?
Technology was trying to protect you. Technology was trying to stop you from watching this.
It should have worked harder, because I would have taken that. So then I'm like, the shock of that, and I'm like, nah, this can't be, nah, man. So then I was like, let me try watching it. I also have the same apps on my phone. And I found the game on my phone. Then we're down 3. And then I tune in time.
So you got confirmation from more than one source.
Yeah, the app was wrong. We were down 3. And then as soon as I tune in, we go down 4. And then I get to see the rest of the game. And then Martin was calling in between all that. For like, why are you calling me, bro? We're all watching the game. Why are you calling? You never call me. So why are you calling me? Because you're a fucking asshole. That's why you're calling. Like, I'm already suffering. I don't need you calling me while the suffering is continued. So I'm like, I'm watching the game on my phone. I can't, fucking talk to you, because I'm trying to adjust to the fact that there's no gravity on this spaceship. And I'm trying to figure out how to deal with it in a spacesuit. So that's how the game. So I just watched the game like from the beginning today, and we didn't start out bad. And it was Ronaldo going down, losing the ball, and a De Gea mistake on the first one. And then even after the first one went in, we tried and still had energy until the second mistake. And then there was the third mistake. And then I don't blame Shaw for the fourth goal. And is his name Mbomo from Brenton?
Boomer, yeah.
Mbomo. He's fast. I noticed that since last season. He's just fast. Like, what do you do if somebody's faster than you? Like, Shaw is fast. But this guy, he's got that special speed. You know what I mean? It's like, so a lot of people are like, Shaw was terrible. So what are you going to do if somebody's just faster than you? It's just there's nothing you could do. So they got the fourth one. We stabilized it in the second half. But here's some ways to look at it. Was this that game of the season that every team has? Like a few years ago, Liverpool lost 7-2 to Villa. And we knew, nah, that's Liverpool. This is just, you once or a few times Southampton had some big losses. Like every team, no matter what you are in the league, you're going to have. So was this that game that came after week 1? So, we lost week 1 at home, and then we have that game that every team has every season, like right now, so it looks really bad. Or are we just as bad as it is? And I would say, unfortunately, yeah, I would say we just bad, bro.
It can get worse.
And you say can't?
It
and
can.
I say you're wrong.
I'm saying it can.
It's gonna get worse, because those two teams, we got to play Liverpool next week. So when Martin wrote in the chat, you guys have hit rock bottom, I'm like, he must not know the schedule. Yeah, we got Liverpool next
And
week.
also, you're now more under pressure than at the beginning of the season, because you're starting off with a lot of hope, new manager, fresh slate for a lot of players. Now
Right.
it's like, and I think among every team in the league, United has the biggest pressure when things, from fans, from ex-players who, it usually used to be a advantage, because you had so many ex-United players in the commentary teams that there used to be a little bit of a bias in the narrative. But now when things are not going well, it's a double-edged sword. So it flips, right? Like they're all on you guys every moment. So yeah, it's not. I wouldn't want to beat Ten Hag right now.
I know he looks, but the only comfort I get is the transfer window hasn't closed yet. And we need to do mad business in that window because somebody was like, in 2 weeks in a row, people have kind of criticized his lineups. And like, who else you going to play when you have an injury and you have no players? You know what I mean? It's like, you shouldn't have played last week. Like, you shouldn't have played Ericsson in a false nine or wherever he played. Like, who else is he going to play? It's not like he had options and chose not to use them. So he put like a baller on the pitch. And then this week, they're like, you shouldn't have played him as a, what was it, a six? And it's like,
Oh, Ericsson
yeah, I think he started deep.
started deep, or at least he looked like he was around deep a lot.
Yeah, so they were saying he shouldn't because he got caught on the ball with that pass for the second goal. But it's like, who else are you going to play? It's like, it's not like we had these tons of options and you didn't play them. Like now, revisionist history, everybody's like naming players like Garner and this and that you could have put on there. But nah, man, like if it had worked out, you wouldn't say anything. Or if you didn't, like, listen, when we have no depth, we don't even really have a starting 11. Like you can't even bench Bruno. Like if Kevin De Bruyne is having a bad 2-3 games, Pep can bench him and put in somebody that's almost as good or that won't drop the levels. You know what I mean? But that will be close. We don't got that. So we definitely have a squad problem. I don't know if anybody else wants to go. Thoughts and prayers?
Yeah, I mean, watching that, I felt worse than like that felt worse to me to watch than either of Southampton's 9-0 losses. Because that's United. That shouldn't be happening. Like if United were 4-0 down after 35 minutes to like Man City or Liverpool, that would be a disgrace. But to do it against Brentford, like they're a good team, but no Premier League team should be 4-0 down against any other Premier League team after 35 minutes. That's criminal. And it was interesting to see the style of play. I mean, people talk about, that goal where the ball got played into Ericsson. Like it was poor execution from the team, but they're learning a new philosophy. I'm not saying it's going to go exactly how it went for Pep at City because it might not. It might still stay bad forever. I don't know. But when Pep first went into Man City,
it might just stay bad forever.
It might do, but do you remember when Pep first went into City and he put Claudio Bravo in goal instead of Joe Hart, and they conceded some goals where they fucked up playing short of the back because the players were learning how to do that.
Yeah, and even a year and a half ago, sorry to cut you off, I would watch Arsenal TV because when they lose, those people lose it. And they were like, why are we playing from out the back? Why are we? And in my head, I was like, and I even said on the podcast, they have to learn to play at the back. They're going to make mistakes. And now Arsenal can play out the back. So, yeah, like I agree with you 100%. You're going to make mistakes when you're learning how to play out the back.
Yeah, you got to break a few eggs to make the omelette. But I just hope for your sake that doesn't turn out to be a really shitty omelette. Because it could be. Because I think obviously when Pep went into City, the club was in a much better place than you. It's more than just the playing style with you guys. There's something deep rooted wrong in that group of players. And I just think I don't know what business United are going to do in the rest of the transfer window, but obviously in the summer you were crying out for two positions. You were crying out for a number 9 and a defensive midfielder, and you bought neither of those. You went buying a centre back that you probably didn't need. You went buying a left back that you probably didn't need. The business that you did felt a bit weird. It
was,
and I think it's still glaring in those two key positions. Because I think it was maybe a little bit naive to think we can control the ball so much against Brentford that we don't need to worry about having players in the team who aren't that great defensively, because Brentford bullied you guys that first half, especially. They were just bullies. And I know the height isn't the be all and end all, but playing Lissandro against a team who are gonna capitalize on set pieces, long throws, all of that stuff, and you put in a 5'9" centre half when they're going to bombard the box, they're gonna make it hard for you guys in those areas. Yeah, it just felt like some strange selections. But like I say, it's early. There's managers who've had disasters early on in their careers and turned it around, so it can be turned around. Like I feel like people should calm down a little bit. I mean, it was a fucking catastrophe, but
you don't calm
football's
down
never.
during a fucking catastrophe. I tell you that.
That's it. But like, yeah, I mean, judge it in a few more games. You know, I wouldn't expect anything out the Liverpool game. Anything you get there is a bonus, really.
Yeah.
And then I think, you know, you play us the week after that at our place, and that I think will give you a barometer of where things are at maybe by that point, because there's been some more time with the players under Ten Hag, and we're not gonna, you know, we're potentially not really going to trouble you. So I mean, if you come to us and you lose 4-0 as well, then there's real problems.
Here's the problem where the barometer might have already been set, though: the effort and the desire levels, and that's the problem. Like you just like, it's 2 weeks in a row where we got to a point in each game where we were playing deflated. And like, I see Fulham week 1, newly promoted team, go at Liverpool with heart, and they almost won the entire game. Like today, Crystal Palace played Liverpool, you know, Champions League finalists, and went at them with heart. You know, at Liverpool, at Anfield, you know, people singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," and Crystal Palace is there alone, and they handle their business. You know, so that's where my panic is in the, you know, last season we talked a lot about mentality and the lack of mentality. You know, that famous Mourinho word, mentality is like, we don't got that, and that's the issue. So that's why I see the worst teams in the league showing mentality. The worst teams.
Yeah.
So that's
the thing is, I don't think the players you've brought in as well are
they're not
strong enough. They're not strong enough personalities to change that mentality.
Right.
They're the sort of players who seem like they'll sink into the same mentality as the other players.
There's a danger of
like
that.
You don't, like, they don't seem to be big characters that are gonna like pull everyone else up. It just seems like they're gonna sink down to the other level.
Right. That's why we need people that could replace some people who are starters. Like, you wonder why McTominay always gets subbed in. It's like, there's a lot of players, they play bad for long periods of time, but there's no sub for them. So they always have to start. That's a terrible way to have a team where, you know, you're not subbing good players who play bad that they could just always continually play. Like, Bruno should get benched sometimes. You know, it's like, I don't care how many assists he had last year or how many double figures in goals he's had in the last few. He should get benched sometimes. Like, you can't have those long periods of games where you play bad. Like, he needs to be like worried about his spot and pushed to do better. Like, even Spurs, they got backups for each position, you know? So, you know, they got backups for Son. Son normally has good seasons all the way through, but they still, you know, like, just so you don't get comfortable, you know, we got somebody else. So yeah, we can move on from the United. Martin, is there anything you want to say about the United game? What you wanted to say when you called me in the middle of the game for no reason?
No, for a specific reason. I tried to warn you that if you plan to watch the game and somehow you're not watching, to not watch it.
But you knew, but you had no idea if I was watching or not. Like,
that's what I was trying to warn you. You know, to warn you some trauma. To skip it, you know, if you didn't turn it on, because I knew you were traveling, so I was hoping that you
Martin, I have a rule about jokes. They have to make sense. And this joke does not make any sense.
I'm just being a good friend.
But it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Okay. No. I have to be honest. Yeah, I tried. When they scored the fourth goal, I want to rub it.
There you go. Honesty. Yeah, there you go. Say that then. Then say that.
Okay, I said that. Admitted it.
You didn't take the call. He was gonna say it.
Yeah.
I said it.
But I knew
Take the
what he
code.
was calling to say. That's why I didn't answer. But now that I've had time, he
No,
can
to be quite honest with you, as I remember correctly, what my plan was to ask you, do you know what is the result? Because I'm not watching the game, which was a very,
which
very...
I would
Another
know you're
lie.
lying.
Another lie.
And that's why I didn't answer, because you're full of shit.
No, here's what I have to say about United, and I like actually a lot, because I had a chance to listen to some opinions about not just United, but also about United, listen to some podcasts and stuff, and I have my own thoughts. Well, it's a mess. You know, some people were joking that Henderson, if they even call him back, he wouldn't like to come back because he's playing for a better team right now, for Nottingham Forest. You know, which is kind of funny. But not at the same time, because somebody made it a very good point that the Glazers are making very good money on United because they pretty much only spending the profit, parts of the profit. They're very profitable. They make a lot of money every year from, you know, TV rights, from merchandise and stuff, and they're not going an extra step to trying to assure that it's a winning franchise. They just treat it as a business, and as a business, they're very happy with the outcome. As long as, you know, they play in the Champions League or Europa League, they're still fine. And it's a scary thought, because it does look like, and that leads to another thought, that this team is very poorly assembled, that it's a bunch of individually oriented players. They just don't mix well together, you know, that they're like individually they're very good players. Some of them, you know, a lot of them are good players, but they don't make sense.
Name the good players.
Well, I mean, Eriksen is a good player, Rashford is a good player, but they're not performing. Sancho is a good player, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo is a good player, but right now I think he sets a bad example. And a lot of people are saying that he needs to go because, you know, even his body language is says, I don't want to be here. I'm not trying hard. You know, he's not playing in, you know, and he's not pressing.
I feel like he pressed enough this week. Like that wasn't the issue. Him pressing, I don't think.
Yeah, but there's something about his body language that he's.
But you don't want somebody. Yeah. What happens is when you have a guy that blew all the rules of training camp and comes in and only is punished by one half of football by not starting, and then he gets to get back in. Everything, all the groundwork that the coach set is kind of like, I think that's where the deflation comes in for the rest of the team after we go down a goal. I just think the vibe without him and the belief in the coach without him and the plans is better. And this Maguire is like, somebody pointed out last week where he wasn't trusting the setup when you're playing out the back. He didn't trust his teammates, so his positioning was wrong. But I wasn't clear if that was really that, and I'd like to blame Maguire now for anything, and I don't want to be that guy, an agenda guy, but you know, you just can't have him as a captain.
No, and I think the partnership will not work because they're not, you know, they don't look well together, him and the other guy. The other guy actually made more mistakes than Maguire in this game, and of course the Gea, it's a problem. If you try to play from the back, you need a different goalkeeper, because that's the one thing he cannot do. And he proved it with the second goal, which was almost a bizarre goal. It was so weird. Both first goals were incredibly bizarre. And yeah, I'm not sure if Ten Hag is the man for the job, because tactically, to be quite honest with you, it doesn't really make sense what he's trying to do. Playing Eriksen up front first game, now he plays him as a, I don't know.
Well, we just covered that. He doesn't have, like, Martin, if he doesn't play Eriksen, right? It's not like there's people on the bench that he could obviously pick and he's picking Eriksen over them.
But I feel like, you know, the DM thing has been, like, I think this is the 4th summer in a row we're talking about it at
actually the 10th.
Yeah, since Michael Carrick fell off.
Yeah, because we haven't had good DMs since the end of Ferguson. So like that's when Carrick was getting older. So we haven't had the DM thing has never been addressed. Like I remember when,
I mean, you got Matic, but you got kind of a Matic past the expiry date.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, man.
But I feel like then that should be the first piece of business you do. That should be the first pounds that are spent in the transfer market.
I feel like between now and then the transfer window, we should get Rabiot, Savic, and De Jong. Spend the money, get those three, and that will help our season tremendously. Forget the 10. Forget the 9. You know what I mean?
Forget the striker. I mean, if Ronaldo stays, you're anyways gonna find yourself in a situation where Ronaldo wants to play a lot of games. So the other 9 is not gonna be somebody who is in the prime of his career anyway. He's either gonna be a young guy who can, spend his season as an apprentice, or he's gonna be somebody like Cavani, who is okay with at that age being a backup striker. So if you don't have the right profile, then just live with Ronaldo for another year.
Yeah, I think I have a different opinion. I think United should do what they did in the early 90s. It's to build on the youth and even wait a little bit longer and just.
I'm not mad at that either.
And once the youth starts progressing and starts really coming to its own, then you buy a few stars and go for the titles. Like right now, this is a mess. If you bring 2-3 more experienced players, they're gonna make you what, 5th, 4th, maybe. But that's
what I'm saying. You can't for 9. The people who you can get, knowing that Ronaldo is there, don't make sense. Like you don't want to get another Cavani, and you don't want to get another guy who can't play majority of games. So just save the money, keep your powder dry, and go for a 9 maybe next summer. It's not like there are a lot of options anyway on the market.
Yeah, we got that one guy who was the player of the year in Haaland that I think we're kind of like negotiating for. He's a 9. And he can play on the wing, but I'd rather fix this midfield thing, which is the hole in our soul. This we have to fix this. It's the 6,
and the 6.
The 6.
And I think De Gea places. I know you're talking at the beginning. It's interesting.
Bring Henderson back. Henderson is good enough.
He's on loan.
Made a mistake. Yeah, no, I'm saying like next year he's good enough. You don't have to play another goalkeeper.
Maybe next year, but like this year, I think what happened was that it's tough to drop De Gea because he was your best player last season.
Yeah, but he was. I think he was probably 4 years. He was progressing for the last 3-4 years.
Yes, but last season he had a prime De Gea season.
Here's the thing about De Gea. He's gonna make a lot of saves because he's good on the line. He's a very good on the line. But if you want to play a football like Ten Hag wants to play with, from the back, he cannot distribute the ball.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like because Ian mentioned at the beginning of the season an analogy with Pep. Pep did that. Joe Hart was England's number 1. He was Man City's, one of the legends of Man City, that Man City team. And Pep came in. He knew Joe Hart can't play with his feet, and he was like absolutely ruthless. He went for Claudio Bravo, and that didn't work. But he still made that, and then he got rid of him.
Yeah, he tried Caballero first.
No, I think Caballero was always backup.
No, he tried Caballero, then got Bravo. And then
he got Bravo first,
and then, Bravo was horrible. Like he
was too small for the Premier League. He was just too small.
He had like until Kepa.
He still won the league with him though.
With Bravo, no. The first season they didn't win, right?
Yeah, first season
they won a title with Bravo though. He was there second season, I think. Still,
I think maybe he went back up because I think Edison came by then.
I think he was back. He was a backup. Yeah, he was a backup.
He never won as a starter for City.
Because Bravo had like until Kepa broke his record, Bravo had one of the Mount Rushmore of bad goalkeeping seasons in the Premier League, like in the bottom 5 of all time.
He was too small for Premier League. He was good for Spain, but he was just too small.
Yeah, especially for a guy with that caliber of experience and all those trophies. He stunk up the place. He made Otamendi look good.
Yeah, the small Spanish goalkeepers, when they come to England, they fail. I remember Victor Valdez was at the menu at some point, and he didn't do well either.
Right.
So
So I guess the question is Ten Hag that ruthless that he can get rid of the senior most player and probably a player of the year last season?
Apparently not.
Because he doesn't suit his style.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to get into this, but because I wanted to move on to other topics, but I'll just say one more thing. Like a lot of I'm happy that a lot of the Man U fan bases or YouTube platforms are supporting Ten Hag, but he has made mistakes. Like, and it's fine if you make a mistakes, but you have to fix them. So I'm not like going against him. I do believe in him, but the just the singular chase of Frankie De Jong has cost us now. You know what I mean? Like, they should have jumped on the backups immediately and be like, all right, this is crazy, especially dealing with a place like Barcelona. And I'm not just saying that now in hindsight. I was just like, nah, you need to, because of just how history has been, you just got to be ready to like get the next person in. Like, you know, like there's so many good players that we could have gotten just to stopgap it until you get the person you want, so that these results wouldn't have been like this. It would have been fine. So I think that's a Ten Hag mistake. I also think he thought, and nobody's saying this, but I think he thought he could make these players play even though other coaches couldn't. Like, he didn't listen to Ragnick, right? He didn't. And then now everybody's playing these Ragnick quotes from a few months ago. And they're saying Ragnick was right. And they had a conversation and he didn't listen to Ragnick. Ragnick was like, this shit needs open heart surgery. And he has a conversation and say, nah, and then he goes to training camp more confident than he should have. So he's made some mistakes. So, but all right, let's go Chelsea versus Tottenham. The game where the referee was definitely in Tottenham's pocket.
No, come on. You're too,
the referee assisted on both goals, no question, assisted on both goals. But I love how Tuchel and Conte handled their confrontation in the press conferences after their confrontations. But Martin froze. So Neil, how do you feel about the game that was referee assisted?
I mean, just the game itself, I think it was amazing. I mean, I think me, like a lot of Chelsea fans, had a lot of question marks. The preseason looked very unsettled. There was a lot of chaos. I think half the squad being changed in the year. A lot of key personnel moving around, and I think the team answered it brilliantly. It's actually, like, performance-wise, probably one of my top 3 favorite performances under Tuchel. So it was like everything. I was feeling super about the performance throughout the game, and of course, like, it was frustrating that the referee did what he did, and you can't fight against that. And you're gonna have those games. I think even Chelsea's gonna have that game where, although this level of that, like, this is Barcelona 2009 level of incompetence. Like, this is not a normal game where the referee got a few things wrong. But yeah, I think Tuchel will drill onto the players that you gave it everything, you did what you had to do. I mean, before the game, all the narrative was about how Spurs are this, and even I kind of bought into it, that Spurs are way better than what they were last season and under Conte, and they're the one actually going to be title challenging. And we pretty much have to look over our shoulder at Arsenal now. But I think what we showed yesterday was we were, I think, in a way, even more dominant over Spurs than we were in last season under Conte. So I think if we continue to play this way, and we shouldn't really have to worry about Spurs, which probably also means that we don't have to worry about Arsenal this season. Affecting us in the league
both
table.
teams ahead of you in the table, by the way, but it's okay.
I mean, if you wanna count now, that's fine.
Typical Spurs fan behavior.
Counting. The season's over. Let's end it now. I just want to say about the game is it was an impressive performance by Chelsea based on the performance of the preseason and the game last week against Everton, where last week, if I'd had 20 hours sleep, was rested, had vitamin IVs in my arm, that Chelsea game, the way they played versus Everton would still put me to sleep. But this week, y'all came out like cocaine mixed with a double espresso. And you just, the energy levels, the way you guys were balling and finding each other, and then Loftus-Cheek playing wing back, and like everybody's touch was on point. Like I saw so many, like, what do they call that when you play on those small courts? And they have all those videos on Instagram. And remember when Ronaldinho was a kid, they had that video of him playing.
Futsal.
There was so many futsal plays by the Chelsea players, like getting out of difficult situations, showing their composure, and like Spurs could not live with them at all. It was it was a technical and forceful masterpiece. But to give Spurs credit, to be on the road and get points in a game like that is still something, and it shows that you should probably still worry about them. And I mean, but a referee helped you out when the fans sing a song about the referee as much as they sing about the players that scored for them. So that's how you know how bad the referee helped the Spurs keeper out.
I think tactically, I really love what Tuchel did, because he's tried that a few times and it has always worked. I think Southampton last season in the second half of the season, and Madrid away, where he plays Loftus-Cheek in that right wing back and pulls Reece to the right centre back. So therefore, it is 3 at the back, but it seamlessly becomes a 4 at the back with Reece going wide as a full back, and Loftus-Cheek becomes the auxiliary midfielder. So it's very tough to execute it for 90 minutes, and he got it spot on.
Right. And then just one thing, there was, and they said this on TV, I didn't notice it myself, but there was a point in the game where Tuchel made one sub that equaled 4 changes on the pitch. And I was like, damn, where he put in Azpilicueta, so that moves Reece out, and
that's where the second goal came from.
Yeah, and puts Cheeks in the midfield and takes Jorginho out, and then it was like, and there was another domino effect from that. And I was like, damn, that's masterful. But go ahead, Martin. Spurs it up, baby.
Yeah, good results for us. Definitely. Conte one more time showed that even if it's not the best game, he can get points out of it, and well deserved. First 60 minutes, I would say Chelsea was better. Than last 30 minutes were better, and well deserved. Scored 2 goals, 2 very good goals. I don't see any mistakes by the referee. If Cucurella,
of course you don't.
If Cucuruku doesn't want his hair pulled, he should shave, because it's ridiculous to come with a haircut like that, and not expect to be pulled. You ask for it.
Martin, that should have been a red card.
No, he asked for it. Did you see that he checks his hair every minute, like he's like a model or something? Is he a football player or a model? If he's a model, then he's in a different business.
Is Romero a hairdresser? What's he doing in Cucurella's hair? Like, did Cucurella go to him for a set and press and a blowout? Like,
I mean, he gave him a little friendly gesture, and that's it. No, I listen. Jokes aside, very good tactical performance by Tuchel. I was impressed. Very good tactical performance. He was able to switch formations, and it was a very good game from Chelsea. Really, very good performance. I would say his behavior outside of the tactical thing was ridiculous, though. I feel he showed absolutely no class whatsoever. To twist Conte's hand after the game and to make those like crazy runs. I mean, it just showed no class. He's an absolute psycho,
you have to, like, if you're following the chronology of what happened, Conte started the entire drama by jumping out of his dugout,
But that's what he does every single time.
But he's not supposed to. So, but then if he does it, he should be able to take it back and not start whining on Instagram like a 7-year-old.
He didn't whine. He made a joke. Okay. He made a funny joke.
I mean, it was the most classless thing. And knowing Antonio Conte's record, like, that's a very low bar, and he went even past that.
Why? What did he say on Instagram? I missed it.
Oh, he did this whole thing on Instagram where, and by the way, after the match, as you said, that Tuchel kind of, they played it down because this
They
is something
both
that
did.
happened. Yeah, but Conte knew he was made to look like a fool on that football pitch, so he couldn't let it go. So he goes on Instagram and he put a picture of Tuchel celebrating, running past him, and he says, "You're lucky I didn't see you." Well, first off, you couldn't see him because your hand was buried in your head was buried in your hand out right out of shame as to what has been happening on that football pitch. And then so he writes, "You're lucky I didn't see you. Tripping you over would have been what you deserved." That's
and he was right.
Antonio Conte.
That's weak.
That's Antonio Conte being classy after the game.
Well, he won you a title. He'll win a title for us as well.
I'm just amazed how quickly it took him like, what? This is this classy Italian Armani wearing guy. How quickly it takes someone to become Spursy. Like, it didn't take him 12 calendar months.
He behaves the same way for the last 10 years. He's very passionate, and Tuchel clearly was provoking him, and because he was bitter. He was a bitter German. He was, because he lost points in a game that he should have won. And when you guys will play at Tottenham, you will lose, because that's how it works with Conte. He gets points from the games where we are not, always a better team, and he wins the games he's supposed to win. And one more thing that makes me even more optimistic after this game. So what Conte does during the preparation camp, he really rides his players physically to the ground, and he did in Korea. There were reports coming out from Korea that people were vomiting during practices, that they were like completely exhausted. And you played football, Ian. I played football. I saw some video. No. But here's the thing about preparation camps. I went through some in my life as well as a junior player. Mm-hmm. When you get really, when you get a lot of physical training during the preparation camp, you're not supposed to be at your best at the beginning of the season. You're usually still kind of recovering. You're in a full strength, but you're not at your best because you work so hard in the preparation camp at the beginning of the season. But it will get better and better and better while the season is progressing.
This is so funny because
the narrative... how you build strength. No, wait, don't interrupt. This is how you build strength and stamina, and that's how Conte won the title with Chelsea, because he was winning games in the last 10-15 minutes of the game. And even in this game, we were better at the very end of the game. We were pressing, we were creating chances in the last 10 minutes of the game. We did a lot.
Is that how he won games with Chelsea? That's not how I remember that.
This is so funny because the narrative has always been that Spurs are ready now. Not that they're going to have slow burn. It's like they're ready now. They've got everything in the locker, and they are ready to challenge Man City and Liverpool.
This is how soccer
like
works.
This Spurs team, I'll tell you this. If you need that much help from a referee and you come away only with a point,
help? Where did
like that's like winning a lottery for $10. Like, that's you should really not be crowing about it, because the way football is, the luck will turn when things get normal.
You are shocked because Chelsea, for the first time since you remember, doesn't get help from the referees because there's no Roman Abramovich around. So there's not getting help for you.
I just talked about Barcelona, but all right.
This is getting as heated as the handshake between Conte and Tuchel.
It's not like
Lee, what do you got on this game?
I think it was interesting because everyone was like, especially themselves, everyone was gassing Spurs up after last week. Not forgetting though that they played us and we are dog shit right now. So everyone was like, "Oh, Spurs are going to challenge for the title." Because they beat us 4-1. Like, no, that means nothing. And like you saw this weekend how far Spurs are off against the top class clubs. They were outclassed in that game. They were very lucky. They deserved nothing from that game. Those decisions were atrocious. They were bossed. They were absolutely bossed in that game, and it's disgraceful that they even got a point. And I think there's stuff Conte needs to figure out. One, beasting your players in preseason scientifically has proven not to work anymore. It means the players will be fatigued before the season finishes. They'll peak too early. They won't be broken right now, but they will be breaking halfway through the season because you're meant to build them up gradually so that they peak at the right time of the season. It's just like, why isn't Bissouma playing? Højbjerg looked lost in that game. I know he contributed with a goal, but he looked lost in that game. Bissouma is a far more dynamic player than Højbjerg. Bissouma should be starting in that team. So it'd be interesting to see how it pans out over the next few weeks. But all I would say is like anyone that was thinking Tottenham are going to challenge for the title, they ain't finishing top 3 this season. I guarantee you that. They might get 4th. They ain't finishing top 3.
All right.
We're winning the title.
I like when let Martin.
Well,
keep
fourth
that.
place is a title for you guys. We know that. So yeah, you'll win
I
that
was gonna
title.
say they're gonna win the title.
You wish you
can
had
win.
4th.
I mean, you know.
By 4th, I mean the 4th from the bottom. You know, you miss that. That's what you hope for.
I mean, I can't slag off Spurs because of where we're at. So you guys have at them.
We have 4 points. 4 points in 2 games. We drew at Chelsea. What's wrong? Is there a problem? I don't see a problem.
I think it's a good draw, but I do think the ref assisted.
What did he do? Tell me. Like,
Well,
what did
you
the ref
see
do?
That was
the-
a foul on habits, plain and simple foul on habits. You're asking me,
And offside.
Million
And
years
offside.
before the
And
goal.
And
And it-
offside.
and
Like, he was Richarlison was in an offside position
No, he
directly
wasn't. He
in the
wasn't.
line of sight.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
he
can-
was. He
I can
was.
pull
He
up
was.
the
That's
picture
a
right
stretch.
now.
No, he was
I can
off.
pull up the picture right
He
now.
he was off. So those 2 plays, and then the Cucurella heel pull.
Oh, come on.
That should not.
Are we
that-
playing football, really? Or are we playing like
Yes,
some...
yeah, that's football. You don't yank
Yeah,
somebody
it's a
to the
foul
ground.
every day of the week.
I-
That's
I-
a
It's
foul.
a foul. It's
Come
the
on.
clearest foul I think we'll see all season, whether it was called or not.
I mean, I
Uh,
remember.
so weak, so
I
weak.
remember when Fellaini. You remember that famous LVG code where he said that the only time that is allowed is in sex masochism, that you can pull up, you can actually pull hair, and he said otherwise it's not allowed anywhere. I wish Tuchel, quoted LVG after the game, but so that incident, of course, those are the days before VAR, right? So the referee missed it, nothing happened. But it's inexcusable in the days of VAR. And that game, what happened was, retrospectively, I forget who was the player, but the player got a 3-match ban for doing that.
To Fellaini,
No, the guy who pulled Fellaini's hair.
right? That's what I
so
said. The guy that did it to
he-
Fellaini.
Yeah. He got a 3-match ban, which means it is in the rule books that if you do that, that's a red card. It's not even a tactical foul, right? It's a
That was a
straight
straight red. That was a
straight
straight
red for 3 games. And in this case, the VAR apparently looked at it and they didn't think it necessary. Which, it's just it doesn't make any sense. Therefore, the Premier League, this game was really good because you saw a really action-packed game. We saw managers showing that heat on the touchline, all the good things about Premier League, but you also saw the worst of the Premier League with that officiating.
Well, I watched the Forest versus West Ham game before that, and I thought that game was a really good ass game. I was like really blown away. But then this one I watched after, and I was like, way to close out and make the game I just saw look like they were just featuring for them.
This was also artificially
fireworks.
doped to be a good game, because if you actually analyze the game, it was a no contest. The scoreline is fake. It was a clean, comfortable 2-0 win.
Nah, it's real. It's real.
I mean, it's real. It's real now because it.
Look at the table. You see.
You
how
had
good it is.
to. Anthony Taylor had to be the man of the match, but
Well, in my opinion, it was Harry Kane scoring the fantastic goal in the last second and proving that he's the real deal. And 4 points in 2 games, very happy. We'll see what happens next. I'm worried about the City. City looks great. Liverpool lost 4 points so far, but they're still our competitor, and the rest will fall in place. The rest is competing.
Let's talk about City now.
The rest is competing for the 4th place. It's
let's talk
three
about,
teams competing for titles. Us, Liverpool, and City.
So are you just ending the podcast by just running through everything that happened in the league before we get to it? Like, what's going on?
No, that was my last word about the Spurs.
Let's go. That was the last word on everything.
No.
So let's talk about City and then Southampton afterwards. But City, I'm trying to see, they just ran through
Bournemouth,
what, 4-0? And
should be 10-0.
It's De Bruyne's goal.
Mm.
Like, we've seen De Bruyne score
That was nice.
tons of goals, and we've seen that type of outside of the foot kick, but this was just different. Like he's taking on people, he's creating space in the final third in the box, and then just Haaland didn't score, but he had an assist to, I think it was to Gundogan, Foden getting on board. So City, like I had them come in second, and I hope I'm not wrong, but damn, they're making me look wrong so far. Is there anything about this game that stood out to you guys? There were no bad referee calls.
The interesting thing I thought was you could see when you watched it that Bournemouth were doubling up on Haaland. They tried to have two defenders on him at all times, and it kind of stopped him from doing his thing to a certain degree, but it just meant there was more space for other people. That's the problem with City. If you leave someone one-on-one with Haaland and they're not up to scratch, then Haaland's going to bully them. But if you allocate two players to him, that means you're leaving space somewhere for somewhere else. And it'll be De Bruyne, it'll be Foden, it'll be someone else, it'll be Gundogan, it'll be Silva, it'll be Mahrez, or someone who comes, and it'll be Cancelo, someone who comes and exploits that. So that's the conundrum when you face City, is how do you combat that? But they looked really good. Bournemouth are always going to lose that game and lose it comfortably, I thought. I don't think there's too much to read into it, because Villa were very bad first day of the season for Bournemouth to get that win. So I still think it's going to be a tough season for Bournemouth. But it's the result that you'd have expected in that game.
Shit, they got more points than us. That's all I can say. I like how, like when you double Haaland, he lets the players on his team use him as a wall. When you kick the ball on a wall and then it bounces off, and then you just run and catch it and then shoot on the goalkeeper. So they like the first two goals, maybe the first three goals besides the Brun goal, they were all a version of the time when the noisy neighbors next door won that game against QPR. It's like 1-2. Like there were all versions of Sergio Aguero's goal that he scored against QPR. It was like, kick it to the guy in the front, he'll chip it to the right or the left, and then we just continue running, grab onto it, and then take a shot on goal. Anybody else want to talk about this, or Lee, you want to go into Southampton?
No, I'll talk about this.
Go ahead.
So City looked like a well-oiled machine, and if it wasn't for Foden being selfish at a couple of occasions where he had Haaland at the tap-in position, and Haaland was very frustrated with that a couple of times because Foden should have passed him the ball and tried to score himself, or took an extra dribble for no reason. They're a complete team. They're a complete team. I would say it's a coin toss between Spurs and City at this point. Who is the best team in the league? But I'm worried. I'm worried because it's a very, very strong team, and it's a team that won everything in the last couple of years. So they are the clear favorites on the paper to win it again.
What if Bernardo Silva leave? Would you be less worried?
I got him on my fantasy team, which was a mistake because I conceded points based on that, and I think he's going to Barcelona. I think that's happening. How they're gonna do it, I have no idea, because they were just, wasn't it like a week ago where they were supposed not to be able to register two of their players they already signed, and now they're gonna sign Bernardo Silva. I assume for big money, because I don't think City will sell him for less than like 60 mil.
They shouldn't.
It's a bizarre situation, Plus, I don't see where he would fit in with Barcelona, but it's all right.
I read somewhere that it's apparently 100 million, which is what they want.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
But Barca also are like, mortgaging their house to pay for anything. So
no, I understand, but they already have Rafinha and Dembele playing that position. Like, what do they use him for?
I know it doesn't make any sense. Barcelona has spent 143 million pounds on transfers this summer just to get 1 point in their first game this weekend. Right.
And it's the first game. Listen, they could have.
I know, but that's why you got to get the kick in right now before they start winning, and highlight that fact. Like, they're gonna start winning, but to spend that much money to tie with Rayo, like we tied with Rayo And another thing, I watched that Rayo game, and I was like, we tied with Rayo with our second team. And like when Martin was talking about earlier, like Man United is another way they could like just use their youth. It's like, fuck it, let's use some of our youth instead of like threaten these veterans with with grab some inexperienced people off the bench, because at least those kids play with like the Manchester United heart, which is completely lacking. So
yeah.
Southampton went down 2-0 to Leeds, and Lee was ready to fire Hudson. And then they come back and score 2 goals and tie it up. So what's your feelings about the game, Sam?
I mean, I wasn't expecting the comeback, to be honest, because against Spurs, we just capitulated. We rolled over. In this game, half time, we'd had 37% possession. We hadn't had a single shot on target. We just looked like there was no fight. There was nothing. The formation, I still disagree with. We're not a team that has the right personnel to play 3-5-2 effectively. And it wasn't until we changed formation that we got back into the game. Joe Aribo didn't start. He came off the bench and scored. I don't know why he didn't start, because he was our best player pre-season in terms of attacking output. And Walker Peters, who was our best player overall, probably pre-season, he then got the second goal, which came from a great pass from Sekumara, the French under-21 striker we signed. So those guys came off the bench and made an impact. It showed that the players maybe are fighting for Hassan Huttel. They didn't look like they were earlier on in the game.
Did Jenna Pro
if we'd have,
yeah. Was he on the field when he scored the 2 goals?
I think he was on for one of them, maybe. I'm not sure. He might have gone off, but he can't play left wing back. We can't do that. Right. It shouldn't be happening. But Hassan Huttel just needs to figure out what the best formation is, and it's not the 3-5-2. And he needs to get some games where we're consistent throughout. Like against Spurs, we were good for the first 10 minutes. In this game, we were good for the last 20 minutes. We can't stay up if we play like that, where we're good for a really small portion of the games. We need to be good for whole games to really do anything, because it can go either way still at this moment. This team could settle down. We could get a playing style that suits us, and we could finish. I think the best we can hope for is lower mid-table, or this could go really badly and we could go down if he keeps messing around with a formation that isn't working and keeps exposing us defensively.
What is he trying to get out of this formation? So what is the formation of a 3?
It's a 3-5-2 with a right-footed winger playing at left wing back, which is a catastrophe. The goals again came from wide areas. One was a cross, the other was a corner. So that's still an issue. It's just not good enough in terms of how we're defending those areas and the way we're set up. It just doesn't really give us much going forward, and it exposes us defensively. I don't know why we're doing it. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether he changes it for the next game against Leicester, because Leicester, they're a good team, but they're a team we can conceivably get something from, especially after they got pounded by Arsenal. They showed that they're defensively frail. So it'd be interesting to see if he persists with a 3-5-2, if he thinks he can crack it and get it right. But the fact that we scored 2 goals and came back into this game when he ditched it says a lot to me. So yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how it goes.
So does Arsenal scoring 4 goals on Leicester, does this drop the price for Fofana? This Fofana.
Maybe that's what Fofana was doing.
He did go to the crowd and
he did that Harry Kane goodbye thing.
Well, the Harry Kane goodbye thing is going on national TV on the golf course and just screaming, "Get me out of here!"
The only thing he was screaming, I saw what he was screaming after scoring the goal, and he said goodbye to Chelsea fans. Goodbye 3 points. That's the only goodbye he said.
Goodbye 3 points.
But talking about Southampton, talking about goodbyes, Southampton, huh? We might say goodbye to Southampton soon, unfortunately. To me, they look
Martin, he said that.
Well, but now I'm saying that it looks like they're the worst team in the league at this moment.
Martin, they're above us in the table. Have you seen
Have you seen
United
the
play?
table?
Yeah, but United are gonna down. You know, of course
No,
United play
well,
worse.
you know, but I thought the table is all that matters.
No, but I still have hope it hasn't. I still have a hope. Listen, I wouldn't mind them going down. Actually, I would be pretty happy about it. But I still think Southampton will find a way. I always liked Southampton since it's not my favorite club, but I always had a sympathy for Southampton. So I hope they're gonna stay up. But I'm worried about them. I feel like they very poor team, and I don't think they have enough talent on this team. I think this team is not strong enough. Whenever I see Armstrong playing either one, that's not a Premier League level, and I'm sorry, it's just not. And you need like 3-4 players to get in the winter to save you guys, and like experienced players. Whenever I see Romeo, that's not a Premier League level at this moment. You know, you have a couple of decent Premier League players, maybe like 4 or 5, but I think squad wise, and I put it in our chat. I think LAFC are now a stronger team than Southampton, personal wise. I really do. I think you could use like Vela or Gareth Bale would be probably your top players at the moment, you know, in Chiellini. Why not? I think so, you know. I think
Don't get it twisted. Doing it against Kansas City isn't the same as doing it.
I know. No, you know, but you know what I mean. You know, like I
don't
wish
get it
Southampton
twisted.
well. I wish you guys well, but I'm worried because I feel like this team is not talented enough. I think it's lacking in quality, and that's more of a problem than the style of play. I think the Hasenhüttl will get the most out of it eventually, but I think you need reinforcements. I think especially after some guys like Broja left, there's just simply no threat offensively, and also defensively, some of those guys got older.
Martin, based on what you just said, I hope you never wish me well. That was a terrible.
Wish you well.
No. I wish Southampton well. I don't want Southampton to go down. You know,
Sure,
I do.
The thing is, though, like I don't disagree that the squad lacks quality. I don't disagree with that at all. But if the squad lacks quality, a good coach will find ways to maximize what he does have and to hide those deficiencies.
What if that's what he's doing and that's what you get?
Not playing a system of play that ends up highlighting those deficiencies.
Yeah, but some of the super players like Romeo was okay 2-3 years ago, but I don't think he's good enough for Premier League anymore, or Armstrong guys. You know, that's just not.
No, Stuart Armstrong is a very good player.
Okay.
He plays well for Scotland. He plays well for us. Adam Armstrong hasn't done enough yet at all. Although he played quite well on one of the goals. But for me, like Stuart Armstrong's an underrated player. He scored goals in big games for us against big teams. He's a very good player. There are some poor players in our team.
All Adam
some really
Armstrong
poor players.
Is doing,
he's not one of them.
All Adam Armstrong is doing is giving Stuart Armstrong a bad name. Because I get them mixed up because they're both Armstrong on the same team.
But I think it'll probably take a while for them to. I do expect Southampton to make a few more signings before the end of the window. And
we need a number 9. Shea Adams is being linked with Everton. So it appear Lampard's hit that desperation point. But if we can move him on and get someone better in, because he's a sub 10 goal a season striker. He works hard. I like the guy, but he's never scoring more than 10 goals a season. So if that's what they want, then we'll take their money.
But I think there was a good performance in terms of coming back. Something to hold on to. That's the kind of point like you should actually take confidence from.
And let's not miss out that Leeds are a good side. They've made some really good signings.
It's good. It's good to see a team that can come back and score 2 goals without any help from the referee.
Cannot live with it. Cannot live with it.
Because that's something, that's information that you can use for the rest of the season. The rest of the stuff is fake.
Martin, that result is eating away at him. So just so you know, I'm sure you know.
Listen, the post-Abramovich era always thought would be difficult. No favors anymore. No favors.
It's exactly the same. We
I think it's
absolutely dominate Spurs.
Yeah, that's funny. I think
to be fair, we used to dominate even before Abramovich. So Martin's right. It's Abramovich isn't the differentiating factor.
In 60 games, in the last 60 games, Spurs. But first of all, Chelsea beat Spurs in 4 games last season, and in the this last 60 games Spurs has played versus Chelsea, they've only won 7. So you don't have a great record against Chelsea, and that's why Martin's happy that points were gotten at the bridge yesterday. Let's just run through some results real quick, and then because then we could talk about some of the things. Like so today, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace 1-1, and Darwin Nunez got a red card. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that, but any thoughts on that game and Chelsea and Liverpool's kind of slow start to the season, like dropping points? I had them like they're gonna win the title, and they're already 4 points behind Man City, and 2 points behind Spurs, and 2 points behind Chelsea. And let me see this table. So what do you guys think? Like, and Klopp said he's not going to do any more new signings, and his midfield was like it had Milner in it, and Elliott the kid, and who did he have? Henderson was on the bench. I think it was Fabinho.
Nat Phillips started at the back as well.
Yeah. So where was Conte, Matip, or Gomez? Where was Gomez?
I don't know. For some reason, Gomez has fallen down the pecking order. Gomez came on in the second half as a sub.
He should have started.
But yeah, I don't know why Gomez has fallen behind Nat Phillips.
Yeah, what's going on with that? That's kind of like weird. Like we should never see Phillips again. They have.
I mean, Nat Phillips was deemed not. He was on loan to Bournemouth, and he was deemed not good enough for them to turn it into a permanent transfer. So.
I mean, he helped Bournemouth come up, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of weird that they went to Phillips today. Like, I wonder if there's anything on Klopp explaining that. But Darwin Nunez got a straight red, so then he's going to be out.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't buy him to my fantasy team. I was thinking about it, but instead I made a different decision, and thank God for that.
Yeah, how many points do you lose your team for like a red?
5, I think, right? Or 3. 3 for penalty and 5 for red. Lee, am I right?
I'm not sure. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So then there's that score. Go ahead.
I think performance-wise, I saw the game, and it wasn't that different from a typical Liverpool performance, though. They were pretty dominant. I think it's just a few things in that final third, because they're trying a lot of new things too.
Like what?
They're trying to play with a fixed target man.
I will tell you what it is.
After a very long time, like they're not playing that false 9-ish Firmino position anymore.
Right.
So I think it's gonna take a while to get used to that. And it's not that Darwin Nunez comes in with a record of being a very prolific, season after season, very prolific.
He had some whiffs. He had some big whiffs today.
So yeah, so he's gonna have some growing pains in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And then midfield, as you said, it's oftentimes that's been their weakest link when things go wrong. And they don't have the kind of quality that you'd expect. I mean, they have good enough quality to finish comfortable in the league, like top 4, but they don't have the quality right now with all the injuries to go head to head with the Man City, for example. So
I mean, they do, but here's the thing, and I said it before the season when we did the preview. Sometimes, it's the way marketing works. We market all those, transfers coming in because those are new faces, and this guy, he's a great player. The other guy is a great player. But to be quite honest with you, sometimes losing a truly great player is worse. And they lost, in my opinion, one of the best players in the world, who made the whole machine fluid. He was very unselfish, hardworking player, and he made Salah look great. He made other players look great, and for me, losing Mane was huge, and it shows, because they missed this dynamo that he was the he was the engine of this team. He was the dynamo of this team. He was the guy making all the runs, all the passes, all the goals. He scored a lot of goals. He's one of the top 10 players in the world, in my opinion, maybe top 5.
Even though the player they replaced him with scored today, he just took on the whole left side of the whole right side of the Crystal Palace defense and slalomed through them and then put the ball in the net. I kind of agree with Neil about, like, they're playing with players that they replace the players, but they're playing with players that play a different style of football. And I don't know if they're going to go towards those players' style of football, or they're going to make those players play the original Liverpool style of football that Klopp brought to the club when he was there. So I guess they need time to work it all out too, even though they won the Charity Shield.
He's a winner. He won at every level. He's the best African player in the world. He's the top 5 player possibly in the world. He won titles. He won Champions League. Now he went to Bayern, who lost Lewandowski, and Bayern is winning every game. And Mane is a key element of that. I mean, you lose a player like that, that's what happens.
All right. I mean, I like him. I like Mane, and I know he had that extra desire, but so does Luis play with that kind of like Mane-like drive. So, yeah, I will see. We'll see. I think Liverpool will heat up more as the season goes on. That's what I believe in. But I don't know if they're going to lose and drop points to the point where they can't catch City anymore. But we thought that last season, right? And then they caught up with them, or almost did. So we'll see what's up. Just run through Arsenal 4-2 versus Leicester. Gabriel Jesus gets on the board, gets a brace. Martinelli's also scored. Brentford versus Man U, we did that. Nottingham Forest, I told you guys I watched that versus West Ham. Forest scores. They created a lot of chances. West Ham hit the post a bunch of times, and it was a massive game. But there's some players I want to highlight just from the Forest team that Dean Henderson saved a penalty. Inaki Williams, like, balled out. Nico, sorry. He balled out. Like, I'm going to butcher this name. Owaniyi. He's Nigerian. Taiwo. I mean, the runs he was making and the balls that Nico Williams tried to get to him, he could have had a hat trick. So great game by him. And some of those defenders laid their life on the line to save balls off the goal line. So like Newcastle could have had several men of the match. Toffolo they just balled. And they just balled out. It was a very entertaining game. Just want to go through so we can get to the fantasy league. Brighton Newcastle 0-0. And is that it? Aston Villa, Everton, which is, if you're Frank Lampard, right, and you're coaching Aston Villa, even though it's not Liverpool, is this like a personal derby for you if you're coaching a team against Everton? And also your ex-teammate who you were...
Gerrard, you mean? Yeah.
Gerrard.
The biggest competitor of his career, they were like the biggest competitors.
Yeah.
Always compared.
So it's like a double mini derby in a sense, but he got the win, 2-1 versus Everton. But Everton,
I want to say one thing.
And I expected them to show.
I want to say one thing, that the analysts are defending Lampard. He really has a poor squad.
He's a darling.
Yeah, but he has a poor squad. It's not a very good team. It's not his fault that Everton is bad. It's just not a very good team. There's not enough talent. We watched the game against Chelsea. They tried. They worked hard. He inspired them. And that's another game where they tried. They're lacking quality. And they're all also in the relegation battle because they don't have enough quality. They sell their best player. They made poor investments like Dele Alli. I wasn't able to talk about Dele Alli.
Man, he can't even start when they got no forwards.
Which he shouldn't be on the field. I mean, with this attitude, something happened to him mentally. I haven't seen a drop off like that in ever, you know, without like major injury involved. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous. He has no passion for football anymore. He should retire, you know, because there are some videos of how he behaves in the locker room. Yeah, I mean, it's not that he does anything wrong. He's just you know, lovey-dovey, smiling, laughing after games, and after performances like this, really, you have no ambition. You show no like anger. You should be angry. You know, you should be really angry at yourself that you got to that level. He's not at a Premier League level. He's not a Premier League level player at this moment. And if I'm an MLS team, I'm not buying him either. You know what he's gonna bring beside the name. So yeah, and I'm extremely disappointed with Dele Alli, and I think he shouldn't play another minute unless he fixes his attitude, because he looks like someone who has no passion for it anymore.
I feel like the speech...
what happens after playing for Spurs for too long? It just breaks you as a person.
Walker Peters, who played for us, is your best player.
He didn't play.
He got out in time though.
Yeah, he escaped. And look at him now.
He took the escape
goals. Yeah.
Ali stayed too long. Career broken beyond repair.
He didn't stay too long because he was only like 4 or 5 years, but he picked too soon. Maybe, I don't know what happened.
Sounds like it's too long.
But it is true that it's kind of rare for such a big drop off. Like
unbelievable.
You would, I mean, Balotelli maybe comes to mind.
No, but Balotelli was just difficult. He never stopped playing well. I mean, he played well. He was doing stupid stuff, you know.
Yeah, it is pretty embarrassing. Like
he at some point stopped playing as good as he used to, right? Like
yeah, but still, it was more problem with his attitude, you know, him being difficult in the locker room. That teams were not taking chances with him. He was still scoring goals up until like some point, you know.
It is a big drop off. Like when an ex-teammate of yours has a heart attack and gets a pacemaker, and they're starting for a bigger team
and making moves up the ladder.
Yeah, and you're like on the bench of a worse team. Like, yeah, it's pretty
on paper worse team, but not in the table.
That's why the quotes. That's why the quotes, baby. Martin is like Martin ignores that you're making the same joke as his joke before he makes it. You know what I mean? It's like Martin.
No, it just felt good. It just felt good.
Yeah, but it's like. We already made it. We bro.
No, but what I was trying to say is like defending Lampard a little bit, you know, because he really doesn't have much to work with, you know, and it's too bad. He might not be a great manager, but I don't think it's on him in this particular moment, you know.
I'm surprised they haven't bought like a striker. Like they lost Richarlison. Calvert-Lewin is probably out with a big enough injury to affect a good part of the season.
They hoped Ali would be the guy. They really did.
They think just a month for Calvert-Lewin. Okay. They've got Rondon, who isn't really up to it, but they're trying to sign Che Adams from us, who if we get a big price from them, like I said,
that's desperate.
I'm happy for him to go.
Oh, speaking of desperate, I mean, I don't know how to classify it, but you could use the word desperate because it makes no other sense. Apparently, we are trying to sign Anthony Gordon from Everton.
He's a good player.
He's a good player.
He's a good player, but I feel like, is he gonna whose spot is he gonna take at Chelsea? Like why are we going? Yeah, like we apparently put in the first bid of 40 million, got rejected.
What's his position?
He's kind of like a winger, but
he's the Mason Mount position. He's the Mason Mount position.
Yeah, like a half, you know, in those half spaces.
Well, he rotate with him and Mount, I guess. I mean,
we have a lot of players.
Unless you're selling Pulisic, that would be.
I don't think we're selling Pulisic, but I think what's happening is Hudson Odoi is gonna go on loan, and because he's been wanting to go on loan, he wanted to go on loan last season to get more game time. Tuchel blocked it at the last minute. I think this time he's actually gonna get his wish. Southampton instantly won the clubs league. Southampton, Leicester, Dortmund are linked.
You know what I think? You know what I think, Neil? I think. Based on the recent moves by MLS teams, by the way, a lot of money thrown at a lot of players in MLS in the recent couple of weeks, a lot of big name transfers. I wouldn't be surprised if someone, just for the sake of the business, throws ridiculous money to bring Pulisic to an MLS team. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. That happened once with Dempsey, when Dempsey was at the kind of the top of his game and he went to Seattle.
Yeah, Pulisic doesn't look happy.
But
Yeah, what if
but-
I could
but, I
Dempsey
mean-
was
and
Dempsey
it's
was
not
still in
like
his
somebody's
30s when he went there, though.
scoring.
but
And it's not like
Pulisic-
somebody's scoring ahead of him. Because I was looking at habits yesterday, like, what are you really guys gonna do about your scoring problem? It's like your best again yesterday. This happened a lot last season. Your scorers were defenders. Like Koulibaly, I feel like you should hire forwards to play defense and they'll score for you because it's
Why do you
great.
think we play 5-5 defense, 5 at the back?
Yeah, because there's more people with a chance to score from the back than there are from the front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Pulisic is gonna get his chances because soon enough you're gonna hit the period of the season where it's gonna be midweek games, and I think Ziyech is gonna go on. He's gonna probably leave. Werner's already left.
That
Ziyech
whole
and Cho might.
But you know,
Leave.
Neil, did you? I don't know if you read the story. I think I posted it, or maybe I didn't, but I read it today. That the new owner of Chelsea named himself the sporting director. That he actually does all the negotiations himself.
Yeah,
I don't think he's
Yeah,
done a
no,
bad
this has
job so
happened.
far. Yeah,
this has
happened.
happened. This happened like after Marina and Czech left. So it's been a month or so. In fact, maybe more than a month.
I got to be honest, man. He hasn't done a bad job so far.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
the players
he
he's got in
lost
a
some.
class.
He
Yeah,
lost some.
Apparently, he
but
invited
he's
Cucurella
won.
to his like house in Mallorca or something,
Yeah,
and that's how they
in,
signed the contract. Yeah.
I think Mykonos maybe.
Oh, Mykonos,
something like
Mykonos,
that. Yeah,
Mykonos,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad Lee came back. What's up? What that fantasy league do? How did who do?
So it was fluctuating over the weekend. I went up as high as second, but Lyle Gillen, who was number one last week, he's still number one this week.
Damn, Lyle.
He had Darwin Nunez, who got -2, but he still managed to stay on top this week with his team, Darwin's best friend. But they, he had like
so he has to play him. He has to play him
had-
next week too. Lyle, if you
He
don't
had
play
J-
Darwin next week,
Or he'll
Change your
automatically
name.
get subbed out.
yeah,
He'll
change your name.
automatically get subbed out, so he can't play him next week. But
But
okay.
he had like
Ooh.
Jesus, he had Diaz, he had Cancelo, he had Haaland.
How can he afford
So he did okay.
within budget?
I got some of those players as well. It's being smart with the other players, but I got more points than Lyle this week. But his performance last week was so strong, he stays top.
Okay.
So he did okay this week. I'm fourth at the moment.
right.
Martin's 17th. And then I think Neil's 23rd, and I think you're 27th.
What? Oh,
so I'm not bottom.
Jesus.
I'm in the-
Yeah, because I had Henderson on the bench. That was a mistake, you know.
I had Henderson starting. So
so I'm
Yeah.
last, like Man United.
no, you're not last.
How many people are in the
We're
league?
not-
I thought it was 20 something.
There's like 29, I think, or something. You're close.
Oh damn! I gotta get my
We
shit
won't
together.
name and shame bottom space unless it's one of us guys.
Yeah, right. I think they want to be shamed.
But you know, if anyone's celebrating right now, like I'm not going to celebrate being fourth right now because that would make me a Spurs fan 2 weeks into the season. So
I wouldn't celebrate 17th. That would make me Southampton fan.
17th is above relegation, so yeah,
There
celebrate.
you go.
well, Spurs fans are the only ones who celebrate anything this time of the season. So no, it's good fun though.
Fans
We'll
are
see how
smart.
it
They
pans out.
celebrate when they can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They know if they wait till later, there's going to be no reason to celebrate. So
We'll see.
celebrate
We'll
when
see.
you can.
Yeah, but I made the mistake of captaining Haaland, and
Yeah,
he
me
didn't
too.
perform
Instead of-
like in terms. He got
Yeah,
he got the assist, but he didn't get the points I thought he would get. But I think
because
a lot of people
Foden didn't
captained
pass
him.
the ball to him. That's Foden had
Yeah.
to pass the ball twice. Had him like
Yeah,
on the
but
tap.
yeah, that was that. So we'll see what the next few weeks bring. Make them transfers, get the deadwood out, get some point scorers in.
All right, before we get out, let's hit these marquee games for next week. So the marquee game, it would have been a marquee game, but it's not a marquee game. Manchester United versus Liverpool. What do you guys got predictively? Even though, like, somebody who's never watched soccer could predict this result of this game. Or do you think
you can't not say Liverpool. I mean, United should, if they have any self-respect, they should
Have you
give
seen
a
it?
reaction. Well, but then, if they have that self-respect, they should give reaction. They should work, but even that might not be enough because Liverpool have so much more quality So I mean, it has to be Liverpool, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that the fact that they got 2 draws against much weaker teams, with Fulham and Crystal Palace, that puts them in a desperate position, because of course they want to win a title and they're 4 points behind City at this moment, which is not a great start. And as we historically remember, last 3 years, at some point both teams started winning every game, and that could matter. The fact that they started the season 4 points behind City, so they have to win this game. Like it's a desperate position, so they're gonna throw everything at United, and I don't think United can handle being thrown everything at this particular place in time. So it looks like the game against Southampton will be the Frank de Boer game for Ten Hag, because Frank de Boer was fired from Crystal Palace after 4 consecutive losses at the beginning of the season, and so the game 4 against Southampton at Southampton will be maybe the game Ten Hag will fight for his job, because
I'm at that game as well.
Oh,
there
yeah?
you go. So
Oh,
you can
yeah.
wave.
I have
You can
tickets.
wave a white handkerchief to Ten Hag.
I might be waving it for Hasenhüttl by then. We'll see. Might 0-0. Fire them both.
I mean, you would think, like, see, we've gone over Liverpool's 2 results, and it's not like they're in red hot Liverpool form either.
Right.
So you think like maybe it's not the worst time to play them, but in some sort of way, it kind of makes them even more dangerous, because as Martin said, they are now realizing, like, you're already 4 points behind City. You can't let that gap get to 6 or 7 so early in the season. So yeah, they're probably gonna go all cylinders blasting at United in the next game. So, and Ten Hag, if he has 3 on the bounce, how much patience? I personally feel they should give him the season no matter what. But if it gets like really bad, because I don't think anybody expects United to get top 4 this season. And if you don't get top 4, getting top 6 does really change much. Like, does really help being a Europa, being able to play, getting the privilege to play Europa League next season. I don't think so for a club like United. So what's the worst case scenario? Just let him do what he does, and at least you find out what level of manager you hired.
Right. Well, right now, everybody's going at the owners. Everybody's blaming these results on the Glazers because of what Martin said earlier about the Glazers taking the profit out of the club and where they could have put more on the pitch. But I'm almost happy they didn't put more on the pitch, because they spent it wrong. Like, when they did spend it, it was mostly mistakes, overpaying for some people, buying the wrong people, and just overall organization. Like, when you see what a club looks like when the right person is spending the money for the club. So it doesn't matter how much you spend. Like, Brighton don't have a lot of money, and they're spending it right. Even Nottingham Forest, based on the result that they had yesterday, it's like, oh, they kind of spent their money right. It's just like the first game is probably them getting all these different parts that never played together before together. So my prediction is, listen, if you're a United fan and you live in England and you need a place to stay after the game just to get away from the heat and the phone calls of the Liverpool fans, I live in Los Angeles, pull up, and we can just get away from the hurricane of bullshit that's going to happen after next weekend. But also, Ten Hag got the players together on Sunday. We trained on Sunday, and Liverpool is not at their best. It'd be crazy if we pulled off some type of surprise and maybe got a point or won the thing. I doubt it. But if you're the sad thing about being a Manchester United fan, like, even when I saw that we were down 2 or 3, because of the history of Manchester United coming back in games, even though this is not those teams, you always get your heart broken more, because I'm like, all we need is 1. and then forget that one until like pretty much the last minute of the game. And I don't know if that's just a syndrome I have, a positive syndrome, just because we used to come back and win games from nowhere, or other Man United fans feel that way. But this is going to be rough. Martin,
I think.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think this game will be interesting in showing how wedded Ten Hag is to his philosophy, because Liverpool are, they want to press high. Their whole system's based off that. That's what Klopp wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
And will United play into that like they did against Brentford? Or will they try and mix it up a bit and see if they have different ways of beating that Liverpool press? Because I wouldn't want De Gea trying to play out against the Liverpool press.
Yeah.
That feels like suicide.
Yeah.
So does he, in the short term, does Ten Hag look to be adaptable or maybe play a little bit different to try and get a result in this game? Or does he play into Liverpool's hands because he's like, well, they need to learn it? So I think it'll be interesting to see what wins out. Is he a fundamentalist, or will he be adaptable to the circumstances and the players he's got and say, for the short term, to not kill these guys, I might need to do something different?
Yeah, I say you should always stick to your fundamentals. I think if he's going to make any change, play some of the young kids that will play his philosophy better than these old dogs who you can't teach new tricks. You know what I mean? That's what I say. Is there another game
Or
where
at least play Donny. Like Donny's probably thinking, like, what happened? I got my pops from the Netherlands. I thought this is what's gonna change my luck, and I'm still on the bench.
Donny be jogging out there, bro. Like, he don't take this shit serious. Like I'm like, hey man, I be yelling at the TV, like, especially during the preseason. This is your shot. Like, shoot out the gates. They fired the start pistol, and it's 100-meter sprint, and you're just like, like by the time he gets to somebody to press him, they've already passed the ball. Then he has to go to that person. It's almost like a way to check in to see if the tables are all right. Like, knock some shit off those tables, bro. Like, Donnie be chilling too much. So we need players with intensity, and he's not bringing it. And that's why he's not out there. That's why McTominay and them is starting, because they can trick you at least into thinking they're going to bring some intensity to the game. So, any other games next week worth like predicting? Like,
I've got to bounce in a second, but
all right, we're all going to wrap it up. I think we covered it all. I forgot to put out questions, so there are no. We could just.
United Liverpool is definitely the game of the week next week, though.
All right.
And both Chelsea and Spurs are going to play without their managers.
Oh yeah, because of the Reds.
Yeah.
For how long though? How long does a straight red last for a manager as opposed to a player?
I think it's just one game, unless they get found guilty of.
Yeah.
Unless they get found guilty of any higher charges when the FA review it, it should just be one game.
Tuchel did say a few things about Anthony Taylor, which you never know. You know, the FA probably don't take kindly to. So
to somebody telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. The irony. There is somebody got a red card this week that I think should be rescinded, like a player, but I can't remember what player in what game. I think it was towards the end of the game, but it's interesting to find out. I can't remember, so why even bring it up? But yeah, that's it, guys. So what?
Mitrovic got sent off for Fulham.
What did he do again?
But he kind of kicked the crap. Oh no, he got booked. Sorry, he got booked. He didn't get sent off. He missed a penalty and got booked.
Oh, okay.
Not sent off.
So,
I knew he had a bad week in fantasy football. So anyone that put him in based on his Liverpool performance didn't get that this week. They got minus points if they had him in.
Damn.
Not sent off. He got booked for a horrible tackle and then tried to have a fight and missed a penalty. So yeah, not great.
That's Mitrovic showing up. Mitrovic.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming through.
Thanks,
Our
guys.
producer Aaron Brungardt could make it this week. Martin, thanks for showing up. You missed the glory of the week before, and you came in for a tie. But
that's the glory.
You're as happy as you would have been last week based on the tie and the history of
Great tie.
Spurs losing to Chelsea. So a great tie. And you guys got points at the bridge. There's nothing I can like refute about that, whether the referee helped you heavily or not. And you got the points, and Lee Hudson 2-2, baby. You came back. Great game. Neil,
Points on the board.
Points on the board. I wouldn't know about that. I don't know how that feels. And goddamn, maybe there's going to be a podcast next week or not based on this result. But tune in. Thank you all for listening. Be
Thanks,
good,
guys.
and we'll see you all next week. One.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys. Lee, just a second.